You're listening to Big World Network.
Incubus, Season 2, Episode 7, written and read by Amanda Meuwissen. Even without Sasha around, it was difficult for Nathan to focus. Images of the redhead kept invading Nathan's thoughts. At first, Nathan considered taking a nap to sleep the pheromones off, but as soon as his eyes closed, images of Sasha rushed up around him, more vivid than ever, constant and decidedly graphic. Nathan tried resting with his eyes open, but Sasha would appear then too, like a mirage, on the other bed, watching him and laid out just as Nathan was, as if on display. Nathan could hear Sasha's voice, picture the intricacies of his tattoos perfectly, and smell that wonderful Sasha scent, as if the incubus were truly there. When Nathan's hand started drifting for the clasp of his jeans, he knew he needed to find other means of distraction, and quickly. Scrambling for the remote, Nathan tried flipping through cable channels, still kicked back on the bed, but switching the program he was watching at random to keep his brain alert and away from thoughts of Sasha. Walter appeared, sitting on the edge of the bed, but Nathan told him to go away. "You can't help, and no, I don't want to talk about it," Nathan said, perhaps a little sharper than Walter deserved, but Nathan was not in his right mind, which was exactly the problem. Jim returned to the room sometime later, without Sasha, which should have been a relief, and yet Nathan felt a pang in his chest at the incubus's absence. Sitting at the table, Jim started reading through the book Nathan had used to summon the messenger. Every so often he would look over at Nathan and ask if everything was okay. Nathan replied each time without moving his eyes from the television. "I'm fine. Quit nagging." Jim was accommodating at first, but his prodding of Nathan's well-being grew more frequent as the day passed. It was getting dark outside when Jim finally abandoned his reading and went to sit next to Nathan on the bed. "Okay, Nate, what's going on?" "What do you mean, what's going on?" Nathan said. He was sick of pretending he was actually watching anything, and flicked the TV off. "Pheromones, dude. Case closed. What else is there to figure out?" "Well, I just get the feeling there's something else bothering you." "Like what?" "I'm not an idiot, Nate. I know Sasha isn't just flirting with you for fun. He likes you. I can't even begin to guess how much that has you freaked already, even without the pheromones. And on top of him being an incubus and a seal." "Hey," Nathan cut in, "I don't have any problems with Sasha being what he is, okay? He proved himself way before what happened this morning. It wasn't even his fault. And the seal thing, he has to be the only one in the world who does the job because he wants to help people, instead of just looking for an excuse to kill things. I mean, trying to compare him to Gabriel is almost laughable." Jim cringed, immediately making Nathan regret saying anything. Gabriel was practically a four-letter word to them. Even when Nathan told Sasha about him, he had avoided actually saying the name. "Yeah, Sasha's nothing like him," Jim said softly. "He sort of has his heart on his sleeve, doesn't he? Or maybe that's just pheromones," he added with a quick smirk. "You're hilarious," Nathan deadpanned, and bucked Jim with his shoulder. "I was actually a little worried at first," Jim said. "Sasha's pheromones should only work on you if you have feelings for him too." Nathan stiffened. "Of course, then I realized it had to be because they were so concentrated with the whole frenzy thing. Hell, they probably would have worked on me just as well with Desire's power behind them." "Yeah," Nathan chuckled shakily. Jim gave a playful shove at Nathan's shoulder to prove he was joking, but Nathan was off in his own thoughts. He hadn't considered the implications of the pheromones working on him. Sasha had said that incubus pheromones didn't work on just anybody. There had to be a spark of actual attraction first. But for Nathan, it had to be because they were so concentrated, like Jim had said. It had to be because of that. Because of desire, not desire. "Hey, Jim, I think I'm gonna go stretch my legs for a bit," Nathan said. "I'll be back in a few minutes, okay? I just need some air." Nathan got up from the bed, thankful that Jim didn't try to stop him. Outside, the air was cooler than the night before, but Nathan welcomed the briskness even without a jacket on. He leaned back against the trunk of the car they had had since Pittsburgh and stared out at the night. "Nathan," said Walter, suddenly beside him. "Please, you really need to—" "Don't worry, Walt," Nathan dismissed him. "I'm going back in to hit the hay early. I just needed a minute to myself. I'm fine. Really." Pushing from the hood of the car, Nathan headed back into the hotel, longing for tomorrow when the pheromones would wear off and everything could go back to normal. Nathan reached the door to his and Jim's room and scavenged his pockets for the key. They had also exchanged keys with Sasha in case they needed to get into each other's rooms. Jim had told Nathan to keep their room key separate from Sasha's, but he hadn't really listened. Eventually, the key he tried did the trick. "Nathan," said Walter. "Quit badgering me, Walt. I'm tired." But the shower was running as Nathan crossed the threshold with no Jim in sight. Nathan would have wanted a shower too, if he could stand one. He had somewhat wiped himself down while cleaning out his claw wounds that morning, but a shower would have been too painful. Just imagining water striking the gashes on his chest with even the mildest pressure made Nathan grimace, and he touched a hand to where the deepest of them lay beneath his shirt. The worst part was how much they itched as they healed, so much worse than it had been with the messenger's mark. Nathan had the urge to run his nails over every inch of his chest, much as he knew that would not feel anything like relief. Sitting down on the bed, Nathan waited for his brother to finish up in the bathroom. He needed to change his bandages and clean the wounds again before he called it a night, so he was pleased when he heard the shower turn off. "You better not have used up all the hot water," Nathan called. The usual reply from Jim did not come, only a confused, "Nathan?" as the bathroom door pushed open. Nathan was suddenly staring at a naked Sasha in nothing but a towel. A naked Incubus Sasha, with his longer hair still damp against his skin, and his eyes glowing red into the otherwise dark room. Nathan's subconscious hated him. Looking around, he realized he should have noticed the lack of a second bed, but therein laid the genius of the pheromones' deception. He hadn't. "Sorry!" Nathan jumped to his feet. Sasha was in his incubus form, the form that had tried molesting Nathan earlier that day. He should not find it hot. "I thought, Jim, and I went out for air, but the key worked. I didn't think... Sorry. Really sorry," Nathan rambled, and made a break for the door. If he could just get out of the room, everything would be okay. He was 2 seconds from grabbing the doorknob when Sasha's rougher incubus voice called after him. "Nathan, wait! You don't have to go. I'd actually prefer you never felt the need to run away from me, if it's all the same." There was a touch of that sadness, of that all-too-familiar regret in Sasha's voice as he spoke. Nathan could do nothing against the compulsion to turn around. Sasha had tossed aside his towel, clothed only in the tattoos and that below-the-waist covering. Nathan knew he should not be so turned on by a gargoyle that fed on sex. Sasha had horns. Sasha had claws. Sasha had really awesome wings. Nathan needed to leave the room now to avoid any further embarrassment, but then he started wondering whether or not the feel of Sasha's skin would change if he ran a hand from that pure white to the gradual fade into black on his hands, feet, and wings. Nathan was walking back toward Sasha before he could stop himself. "You don't have anything to apologize for, Nathan," Sasha said, standing there seemingly oblivious to how much Nathan's eyes were devouring him. "I'm the one who messed everything up, even if you don't want me to say that. After this morning..." He glanced down at himself, and his eyes went wide, as if he hadn't realized until just then that he was in his true form. "Like what you need right now is to see me like this. Let me grab something to wear so I can change back." He made to move across the room. Some unstoppable force had Nathan reaching out to stop the incubus, and he touched Sasha's bicep right where the white started to fade darker toward his hand. "Don't," Nathan said, and then knew he had to elaborate when Sasha turned worried red eyes on him. "I mean, you don't have to change. I don't mind when you're like this. I'd be a pretty crappy friend if I did, especially after this morning." Sasha looked shocked to hear Nathan say that, but he was soon smiling brilliantly, enough to light up his entire face. Nathan had never seen Sasha's eyes look more beautiful, sparkling at him so bright and red. "Do you always take a shower like that?" Nathan asked, forcing his hand to drop from Sasha's arm. "No," Sasha said with a light chuckle. "Sometimes I'd just like to feel the water on my wings. It doesn't matter either way. Both forms are the real me. Both get clean if I shower." "Meaning this time you're actually naked instead of hiding clothes?" Sasha's brow furrowed at the question. "Technically, yeah, this time. It depends on the glamour. I wouldn't really need clothes at all if I didn't want to bother. I could just make people think I was wearing them and no one would know the difference. But I like actually wearing clothes. Touchable or not, I would still feel naked." He glanced down at his body again. There was still the covering, but that didn't cover much. Maybe I should get something on. No, Nathan said a little too desperately. He forced a casual smile when Sasha's expression turned doubtful. Just stay like this. I never get to see you like this. Not unless bad things are happening around or to us anyway. It's nice to be able to see you. Sasha's concerned expression softened, and Nathan wondered if there was more to what he was saying than just the pheromones' desperation. You know, my whole life I've thought that anything other than Jim that wasn't human had to be evil, Nathan said, more candid than he would normally allow. Other kids got to go to monster movies and think, how cool, while I had to live with the truth. But you're one of the good guys. The first time I can think, how cool, and it's okay. I mean, that sounded wrong. You're not some sideshow attraction to me. It's okay, Nathan, Sasha said. I know what you mean. I don't mind being something like that for you. You're kind of the same thing for me. A person I can let my guard down around. Something I'm so used to being dangerous. But with you it isn't, so I can just enjoy it. You and Jim are the only humans who have ever seen me like this. Nathan nodded dumbly. He knew he had to be smiling like an idiot, so he gave a little cough and tried to shrug the sentimentality off of him. Hey, can I ask you something? Of course. Nathan allowed his gaze to travel along the contours of Sasha's wings, awed by them. Do you feel different when you're like this? Sasha grinned. Why don't you touch me and find out? He said. It was obvious that Sasha meant the comment in jest, much like most of his more playful advances, so it was understandable that he looked rather surprised when Nathan responded, Can I? I just mean, your wings. I've been wondering what they feel like. Unless that's too weird. Of course it's weird, Nathan thought. He knew he was acting on pheromones. He shouldn't even be in the room anymore. But being so close to Sasha destroyed all of his previous resolve. Something of recognition flashed across Sasha's face, as if he realized finally that Nathan was not in full control of his actions. But although Sasha's brow was tightly knit, he extended one of his wings closer to Nathan and said, Go ahead. For a moment Nathan had no control at all. There was no little voice in the back of his mind to warn him or talk him down as he reached out, and his fingers grazed the very edge of Sasha's wing. He thought it would feel like a bat's, but it didn't. It felt like skin, only a little rougher than the skin on Sasha's chest, which was amazingly soft, Nathan noted, as his other hand touched Sasha there. He told himself it was just to compare, maybe even said that exact half-truth to Sasha. And then his hands were moving, one along the skin of Sasha's chest, and the other over the inside of Sasha's wing, feeling the grooves and changes in texture. Nathan was going to ask Sasha what it felt like to be touched like that, whether or not having his wing touched felt like touching other places on the body. When Sasha gave a slight moan at Nathan's caresses, he was pretty sure he had his answer. Red eyes stared back at Nathan hazily, clouded. Nathan hadn't realized how close they had gotten. The smell of Sasha was all around him. Nathan wanted to touch Sasha more. He wanted to touch everything. So he reached up to touch the horns, black and curling from Sasha's temples, that were firm and smooth, like bone. Nathan, said a voice that was not Sasha. Maybe Walter? Only Nathan didn't want to listen. The voice was too far away. Nathan's body moved, and he could do nothing to stop it. His chest was flush against Sasha, as he moved his hands to Sasha's slightly pointed ears, and traced his fingers around the shape and cartilage to their tips. His touch was light, too light, teasing, intimate. Sasha made a strange noise like a deep-throated purr, and Nathan smiled. This was what he wanted. He knew now. He lifted up onto his toes, since Sasha was so much taller in this form, moved his hands from those ears to grab Sasha by the back of his neck, and leaned up toward the lips he so loved kissing. Nathan could feel breath on his face, see the intensity behind Sasha's red eyes as they looked at him. But before he could find the kiss he so desired, Sasha spoke. Nathan? Nathan loved the way his name sounded coming from a growl. Yeah. I think it's time you went back to your own room now. Nathan blinked and the spell was broken. The pheromone still lingered, still made his blood pump a little hotter for how close he was to Sasha, but his mind came back to him with a screech, and he realized what he had been doing. "Yeah," Nathan said, pulling away. "Sorry. Just... sorry." Nathan turned for the door, gripped by panic and guilt as he all but ran from Sasha's side. He knew he could blame the pheromones, knew Sasha would let him blame them, but it wouldn't change what he had almost done. Breathing hard with his skin burning hot, Nathan fell back against Sasha's door as soon as it closed behind him. Something choked in his throat, but he would not let it rise. He wasn't that weak. Walter was there beside him, saying his name, asking, "Couldn't you hear me, Nathan?" "Leave me alone, Walter," Nathan said, and turned away. He didn't look at Jim when he returned to their room. He didn't respond with more than a grunt when Jim tried to talk to him. He crawled into bed and faced the wall, longing even more for morning, and for all of this to have been a bad dream he could somehow forget.
You're listening to Big World Network.